Hello everyone, welcome back to Longswitch Academy. This is your host Shubham Prajapati. Today we are getting started with the basic syntax of Salesforce Apex programming. If you are new to Salesforce development and want to know how the Apex code is structured, then you are at the right place. Before we begin, if you haven't subscribed to Longswitch Academy yet, do subscribe to it now, ring that notification bell and share it with your friends and family who can also learn from our free courses. So let's dive in and begin this episode. Before we move forward with this episode, it is important to understand the objectives of this session and who should watch this episode. So first, let's talk about the objectives for this episode. In today's session, we will be introducing you with the basic Apex syntax, and we will also be talking about the concepts like access modifiers, class variables and class methods. In today's session, we will just not talk about the theoretical aspects of these concepts, but we will also showcase you one sample Apex class demonstrating all these concepts in practical. Now moving on to the other part of this episode, like who should watch it, who will be the target audiences for this episode. This episode is intended for the freshers and the beginners in the world of Salesforce development. Understand the basic code structure for Apex programming or Apex class. Let's quickly refresh our memory with understanding what is Apex in its true sense. As you might be knowing that Salesforce Apex programming is Salesforce's proprietary programming language, which has syntax similar to Java programming. So if you have worked with Java in the past, you will feel like at home when you work with Apex programming. Now you must be wondering, why do we need Apex programming when Salesforce has so many things to offer? You can use Salesforce Apex programming to develop custom solutions or to integrate with third-party systems within the Salesforce platform. Now you must be wondering, where do I write this Apex class, where this class will be compiled or executed? Then let me clear the air for you. Apex programming or Apex programs runs within the Salesforce servers, which makes it secure and easy to access for the developers while developing their custom solutions. So it is robust, runs within the Salesforce server, making it secure, and it is highly customizable to suit the specific business needs. I hope this gives you brief overview of Apex programming, and it will help you to understand the basic structure of Apex class. You know, Salesforce Apex programming is an object-oriented programming where everything revolves around an object. And if you have studied object-oriented programming concepts, in order to create an object, you need class. So everything in Salesforce Apex programming begins with a class. So every time you need to write an Apex class, you have to enclose that code block within a class. Here on this screen, I have a sample blueprint of how to declare a class within Salesforce Apex programming. As you can see, the declaration or the definition of an Apex class begins with specifying the access modifier. You must be wondering, what is an access modifier? I will walk you through that. There are a couple of access modifiers in the Apex programming. We will talk about them one by one. Then you also have to specify the name of the class. If there are certain certain interfaces that your class is extending, that also you need to specify. So here, as you can see, this private, public, global, virtual, abstract, with sharing, without sharing, all are the access modifiers. Then you need to specify a keyword called class. Then there is a word named sample class name, that is the name of your class. You can give it any name following the Apex class naming standards. Then there is a keyword called implements interface list. In case your Apex class is implementing any of the built-in interfaces or custom interfaces, then you have to use this syntax. Or in case your class is extending some other classes, then you can use the keyword extends followed by the class that you are planning to extend. Then you have to specify a curly braces to enclose your code block of your class. Then the body of your Apex class can have variables or methods depending on your business use case. Now you must be wondering, I have talked about the entire syntax, but I didn't explain you what does this private, public, global or the access modifiers in general mean. So let's first understand this Apex like access modifiers, then we'll revisit this syntax. So here you go. First, let me brief you on what is an access modifier in Apex. Access modifier controls the visibility of your class within the Salesforce, within the Salesforce system. For example, sometimes you may wish to make your class accessible to all the namespaces within your Salesforce org, so you make it global. Sometimes you want to make your Apex class like within the namespace or within your application only, then you make it public. Or sometimes you want to keep your Apex class public or private to your own section of code, then you use the private access modifier. So in simple terms, access modifier defines the visibility of your Apex class within the Salesforce platform. So now, as we have seen through this basic structure, that there are a couple of access modifiers available in Apex, that is private, public, global, virtual, abstract, with sharing, without sharing. They all have their specific purposes, so you should be using them carefully so that you don't unnecessarily expose your Apex classes to the outside world or other namespaces. In case you have any questions regarding the access modifiers, or if you are getting confused, do let me know in the comment section below. We will try to reach out to you as soon as we can. So yes, this is all about the access modifiers. Now let's quickly take a look at the particular access modifier one by one. The first access modifier that we have is private, meaning that you want your Apex class to be visible to the section of the code or a particular section of the code, then you can use a private access modifier. Then there is public access modifier, meaning that you must be writing an application or you must be creating your own namespace within the Salesforce within the Salesforce platform, and you want your Apex class to be part of that application so that all the other classes or the other components within that application or namespace can refer to your Apex class. Then you can use the public access modifier. But in case you want to develop an Apex class which you want to make available globally, meaning that you want your Apex class to be available across the Apex code outside of your organization as well, then you can use the keyword or the access modifier global. The next access modifier that we have in the list is with sharing and without sharing, meaning that these keywords are meant for specifying whether you want to establish a sharing mode with your sharing mode for your Apex class or not. If you want to know more about this sharing mode or without sharing mode, do let me know in the comment section below. I will reach out to you with the further details. But for the sake of keeping this particular episode short and sweet, you can consider it like when you want to establish any kind of sharing mode for your for your Apex class, you can use with sharing or without sharing based on your use case. The next part or the next access modifier in Apex is virtual. What does that mean? The virtual definition modifier declares that the class allows extension and overrides. You cannot override a method with the override keyword until the class has been defined as virtual. Sometimes it happens that you want to develop some extension methods or extension classes which have some generic methods that can be overridden by other classes depending on their use cases. In those kind of situations where you want your class to be an extension and to support overriding of its methods, then you can define the virtual keyword. Then there is the sixth access modifier, which is abstract. The abstract definition modifier declares that this class contains abstract methods. This is method that only have their signature declared and no body defined. If you have read about object oriented programming, like there is a concept of abstraction, where what does that abstraction means? The classes that are declared as abstract classes will just have the structure of will just have the structure of the methods. They will just have the syntax that okay, this method contains method 1, method 2, method 3, method 4, but they won't have the body of those methods. So those to achieve that level of abstraction, we can use the access modifier abstract with our class. I hope you have understood what is access modifier in Apex programming and what are the different types of access modifiers in Apex and when to use which type of access modifier. But in case you have questions for me around this topic, you feel free to reach out to us in the comment section. Now we are clear with the basic syntax of writing an Apex class. Let's write one step by step in the VS Code. So for Apex development, if you don't know, you can use two things for writing your Apex classes. Either you can use Salesforce's developer console or you can use an IDE such as VS Code. For the sake of easiness or just to use other utilities of the developer, other utilities of the IDE, I prefer to use VS Code. So let's write our first Apex class with the syntax that we have just learned. So here, as you know, what do we need to do first? We need to first see, we have to let's revisit that page. Yeah, first we have to define an access modifier of from the available list of access modifiers such as private, public, global, etc. Then the keyword class here and the name of the class followed by the after the keyword class we have to specify the name of the Apex class. Then we can either use implements or extends depending on the use case. But for now, let's create a sample pretty easy Apex class. So I'll go back to the VS Code editor and start writing my first Apex class. So first was we need to define an access modifier. So I want to keep my class public so that I can make it available for all the make it available for the entire application or namespace of my org. And the cool feature of this VS Code IDE that it is AI powered. As soon as you start writing something in the Apex programming or in the Apex class, it auto suggests the code. So since I just specified my access modifier, it suggested me the entire structure of the class. But I will write it on my own just to demonstrate to you. But once you get familiar with this syntax and all, there is no harm in using AI to generate the syntaxes or the code blocks for you. But first get yourself familiar with it. That is a pro tip. Never fall in the trap of AI in the early stage of your programming career. So now first I have specified public as the access modifier, then there comes the class as the keyword, and I want to name my Apex class as no, I want to keep it public, and with sharing, let's go back to the syntax and see here. One thing that I think I missed, one thing is private you need to specify either private, public or global from those access modifiers. Then from the rest of the 4 that we have is virtual, abstract, with sharing or without sharing. You have to choose one. It is not like from 6 you just need to choose one, but there is a group of 3 such as private, public and global. From them you need to choose one, and for the rest, from the rest of 4 you have to choose another one based on your needs. So what I'll pick here, I'll pick with sharing. I want to use the sharing, I want to enable the sharing mode for my Apex class, and then I want to name it like Longswitch sample Apex. So this makes my basic class up and running, and once I'm satisfied with my work, I will hit deploy this source to org. We have already explained you how to set up the VS Code in your local machine, how to connect it with your Salesforce org, and how to deploy the code. If you haven't watched that episode yet, we are just adding link to that particular episode in the description section, or you must be seeing that link on the top right corner of this video. You can always visit to that episode and check the step-by-step guide on setting up your local development environment for Salesforce. The next important element of a Salesforce Apex class is class variable. You wonder what is a class variable? It is nothing but a container which you can use to hold values during the execution of your Apex classes. Now let's quickly take a look at the syntax of creating or declaring a variable in Apex class. As you can see, I have just highlighted a blueprint of defining or of declaring a variable in Apex class. As we have seen during the declaration of an Apex class, here also while declaring your Apex variable, you need to first specify the access modifier, and here instead of 6 there are 4 access modifiers available for an Apex class variable, and those access modifiers are, as you can see here, that is public, private, protected and global. Let's start this discussion by understanding public access modifiers for the Apex class variables. When you declare your Apex class variables with the public access modifier, then you are exposing them to outside world, meaning that all your Apex class variables declared with the public access modifier will be accessible outside of your Apex class, and on the other hand, the private access modifier controls the access of your class variables to particular class only, meaning that when you declare your Apex class variables with private access modifier, then you are limiting the access of that particular class variable to that particular class only. The outside world or the objects outside of your class cannot access those private variables. So public is used for exposing your class variables to outside world of your Apex class, and the private access modifier is used to limit the exposure or access of your class variables to the class only. One interesting part is that the class variables declared with the private keyword will be available throughout the class, meaning that all the class methods can also access the private class variables. I hope this makes sense. In case you have questions around that, do let me know in the comment section below, and we will try to get back to you as soon as we can. Then there is protected, that is a specific or special keyword or the access modifier that makes your that makes your class variable available for all those classes who has inherited this particular class. So this protected keyword works, or protected access modifier works in a situation where you have utilized the object oriented programming's like inheritance concept. So if you know about the inheritance, and if you have set up your classes in that kind of situation, so you can leverage this protected access modifier for your variables to make them available outside of your class within the inherited classes. And global, you already know, it will be available throughout the class. So the scope of this these Apex class variables will only be limited within the Apex class where they are declared in, or outside the Apex classes, or within the inherited classes. You can control that visibility using these access modifiers. Then after configuring the access modifier, you can also you need to either make your class variable final or static based on your business use case. So that is the another thing. Then you have to specify the data type of your variable. In Apex programming, the variables are strongly typed entities, which means you must define a type for them. It can be string variable, integer variable, boolean variable, double variable, or any custom Apex class type variable, but you must define the data type for your variable. After you configure the data type for your variable, you have to specify its name, and while declaring the name for your variable, you have to use the naming conventions that your organization is using. Then either you can predefine the values, or you can declare an initialized variable. That is up to you whether you want to specify any default values for your variable. Then that is possible, but that is not mandatory. So this is the basic syntax of declaring a class variable in Apex. And here I think I have created a sample. I have also attached a sample sample screenshot where I have declared a string type variable called username with the predefined value sample user, and the visibility of that particular X class variable is public, which means if I create the class, if I create the object of this class, then I can access the username outside of my class as well. So now let's go back to the Apex class that we were writing, and in that class let's try adding a variable. So as we have gone through the variables, as we have gone through the syntax of variables, let's follow the same here. I have a habit that I always write meaningful comments along with the changes that I make to my Apex classes. So I want to make a comment that I am declaring a sample variable, and as I have highlighted, this VS Code ID is AI powered. So as soon as you hit some commands, or if you type something, it auto suggests. But as I had also mentioned that if you are unfamiliar with this syntax part, you first write the code on your own, get yourself familiarized with it, then only take help of UI or ChatGPT. So what I'll do, I'll create a variable called public, and maybe let's create a variable name public. I want to keep it non-static, so I just leave that part aside, and I want to develop a string variable, and I want to name it as username. In general, we use the camel case for variable names, and that's how it should be. And I'll initialize it with the simple name, Longswitch. So here what we did, we first configured the access modifier for my variable, that is public. I want to expose this variable to outside of this class. Then I didn't specify final or static. If I'm not specifying anything, then that's fine too. And then I have specified the data type for my variable, that is whether it should be string, decimal or double. But since it is a username variable, it is preferred, it should be of type string, but you should choose the data type as per the value that you are planning to store in your variable and or in the class variable. Then I just specified the name for my class variable, that is username. I used the camel case naming convention, and since I'm just demonstrating this syntax to you, I have initialized this variable with a default value, or that is Longswitch Shubham. I hope now you are clear with the syntax of creating variables in the Apex. Another important aspect of an Apex class is its class methods. You consider them as a block of code that performs certain operation. So every class method or method in Apex class defines certain functionality of the class that it can do, and you can reuse them the way you want them. So it also supports or provides the reusability. In order to declare an Apex class method, you have to follow a certain syntax in the same way we followed while declaring an Apex class variable. So the syntax of declaring an Apex class method is somewhat similar to the syntax of declaring a class variable. So first you have to specify an access modifier, whether you want it to be public, private, protected or global. Likewise, you utilize these access modifiers while declaring your variables. So the purpose here, the purpose of access modifiers here is the same as we have explained through the Apex class variables. Then you either make it overridable or static based on your need. Then there is a data type. This data type defines the return type of your variable, like a return type of your method. It suggests what type of value your function or your method will return, that you have to specify here. In case your method is not supposed to return anything, then you can use the keyword void. Now after you define the return type, then you have to define the name of your method as per the naming convention followed by the Apex programming. Along with that, once you define the name for your method, you also have to specify the parameters or the input parameters for your method enclosed within the set of parentheses. In case you don't have any input parameters for your method, then you just define the empty parenthesis followed by the block of curly brackets which will contain the body of your method. Just to simplify these terms, I have created a slide to make it easier for you to understand, so that you get the true essence of all these part of the syntax while declaring the class methods. So here the first thing that you have to specify a modifier. It is optional, you can define either public, protected or private, but if you don't define any of the access modifier for your method, it will be considered as the private by default. Then the second one would be the return data type, that is the return type. As I have explained, that it should be the same as the type of value that your method will be returning back. If it doesn't return anything, you just have to specify a void. Then the third important thing is the list of input parameters that your method will accept. In case there is no input parameter for your for your method, then you can keep the empty parenthesis. And here, like, there is a limitation. You can only have up to, what I say, 32 input parameters for any of your methods. You can define up to 32. You can have none, or you can have up to 32 different types of input parameters. Then you have to specify the body of your method, like what it does, what kind of functionality it will perform. So that's how the basic syntax would be. In case you want to like read through this text, just pause this video, have a quick look at it, so that you get the idea of what we just discussed. Now this is about the theoretical aspects of creating a class, like what I say, declaring a method within the Apex class. Now let's see this in the action. So here I'll go back to my Apex class and I will create a sample method for the demo purpose. Sample method to demonstrate in the episode. So here it auto suggests, but let's write it on our own. So first would be the access modifier. I want to make this class method to be available outside of my class, so I want to make it public, and I want to return the value of username to the end users, the value of username class variable. So I'll define the return type string, because the type of our variable is string. And I'll name it as get username. So there is a one pro tip here. You should always write meaningful names, or you should always give meaningful names to your methods. So in case someone else looks at your method, they get the sense about the purpose of writing this method and what it does. So try to give it more meaningful names so that your code becomes self-explanatory. And here for declaring the method as well, we use the camel casing. And since my method won't be accepting any input parameters, so I'll keep it as empty parenthesis. Then I'll use the set of curly brackets to define the body of my method. And now in the body, what I will do, I just want to return the variable username. So what I'll do, I will return username. Since the data type of my variable is string, I declared the string as the return type for my method as well. Otherwise you will get a compilation error while you try to deploy it. So this is how you develop or you write the methods within your Apex class, and this is the basic syntax of declaring your variables, your methods within the Apex class. So that's all about this particular episode. I hope you have found value in watching this episode, because we have talked about the basic syntax or structure of the Apex class. We have also talked about one important concept, that is access modifiers. Then we talked about how to declare class variable, how to declare methods. So this makes it this episode very suitable for you if you are starting your journey with Apex development and you are comparatively new. In case we missed something while explaining this topic, or you have some questions or queries, you feel free to reach out to us in the comment section below. Again, learn it at your own pace, but get yourself master with it, with these syntaxes, because once you get yourself very confident with the basics and the core syntaxes or core concepts, it will make your higher level easier to understand and easier to grab in terms of Apex programming. Until next time, keep learning and keep growing with Longswitch Academy. If you haven't subscribed to it, do subscribe to Longswitch Academy now. Share it with your friends, ring that notification bell,